Okay. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
We are here to talk about the second part of 100 Ways to Change Your Life. Yeah. Because we decided that clearly 50 is more than enough.
It's a lot. Yes. It's funny because I was just reviewing the kind of that beginning and some of the things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that I've done, not consistently, but I was like, oh wow, this really does take some thought. And
it's a lot of implementation, right?
It is. Yes.
I think some things are easy. I mean,
yes.
But yeah.
Yes. I think the things I've had the easiest time with are the kind of the simple practical things that are easy to stack with something else.
Sure.
That's worked. The other things, just need a plan.
I know. I know. Mm-hmm. I honestly feel like you could spend every day just trying to make your life as optimal as possible, but that's also not life. Right?
Exactly.
So
it's true.
I don't know what the answer is, but I did really enjoy it, and it definitely does make me think about things.
Yes.
So.
No, I love it. I feel like it's the kind of book that I'll keep coming back to, keep looking back to, maybe take a section different times when I know that's what I need.
I agree.
I like it.
I agree. So I don't think we talked about how to make and keep friends. That's the section that
we left off on.
That we left off on. Yep. And one of the things that I liked about this one was like be a fun magnet, which I just listened to a podcast on We Can Do Hard Things where they were talking about fun.
Okay.
And it's really funny because, again, if you know them at all, like Abby's all about fun 100% of the time.
Right.
I mean, Glennon's a little bit like, fun is work, or what is fun?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, exactly. But they also talked a little bit about like a fun magnet. And I just thought about like, what is that? And what does that mean? You know?
Yes. I feel like that's sometimes hard for me, right? Because I tend to be introverted. And so then it's hard to think about, especially how to initiate fun. I love coming along with fun, and I think that's why I enjoy spending time with you, because I think you are more ready to initiate that fun, and I love being a part of it, but it's hard to think about how to initiate it. Yeah. And I know that's an important part of it too, to be the other side.
Yeah, I think it is both, and I think that is kind of like why some groups work so well together, because you need both. Like if you've got people that are constantly like, I know, let's do that, and other people, not everybody can lead all the time, but I do think it is sort of about being intentional about some things too, and just creating opportunities for fun. And like that doesn't mean like crazy,
right?
I mean, even just the bowling league that we've initiated here, which has nothing, like we don't bowl, we just get to
just a way to get together.
And it literally was, this is an excuse, because if people say they have bowling, then they're busy.
Yes.
And we basically were like, we want to carve out this time.
Yes.
To be with people and just relax and hang out a little bit.
Joy. Yeah. Exactly. No, it's funny. I was thinking and actually talking to Kelsey, my oldest daughter, about how much I love board games, and I said, I really think I want to invite some people over for game night.
Yeah.
That feels like fun and something different. Maybe.
Right.
I mean, not totally novel, but just something I haven't done.
No, and it is one of those things that that would be fun, and people would be like, yeah, that'd be great.
Right. Something to do.
Yeah. More fun with more people. Right.
Right.
So the other thing in this little section that stood out to me was practice habitual open-mindedness.
Yes, I had a sticky note on that one.
Yeah, I think it's so important right now in our time with our just political landscape and everything else. Like, I just think it's important to be able to go, I don't have the full story.
Right.
I'm open to hearing.
We don't have to have exactly the same perspective on things to enjoy each other or learn from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And to still know that, I mean, everybody's, it's important to everybody, but again, I think it shouldn't be about making sure that we get our point across, which sometimes I'm a talker, so that can be harder for me. I need to go stop and listen, but I do think I'm pretty open-minded.
Yes, I agree.
So
yeah.
Any?
No, that was the big one that stood out to me as well. I thought it was interesting too, the deepen your existing friendships. I think, there's just a time in life when you've kind of got so many long-standing friendships, but it can be easy to slightly fall away from certain people if you're just not around them a lot. And so I think it's nice to think about that, of ways to deepen those friendships that you have.
I agree.
Yeah.
The next section is how to up-level your long-term relationships. The first one talks about being the CEO of your household. I don't know many women that aren't like the CEOs of their household, but I think she's talking more also about kind of delegating and things like that. So I don't know that I need to. I mean, right now my household's easier to run than it's ever been because it's just the two of us. Really. Same. Yeah. So I'm like,
definitely gets easier that way. Yeah.
But I don't feel like I need to spend a lot of time on it.
Yes. I liked the establishing your rules for fighting, because obviously there's always going to be disagreement, and I think, again, being married for many years now, I feel like we've figured a lot of those things out. But it is easy to sometimes fall into an old pattern that's not as good, and to remember. Yeah.
She talks about sex in here a couple times. Both times she refers to Vanessa Marin, and I do think Vanessa, I follow her on Instagram, and I've read her book and things like that. I think she has I like that she talks about sex, and it's not just like more lingerie and blah, 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 but it's really about kind of, what's holding people back and things like that. So,
understanding ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing.
I agree. Yeah. So, And then the last one in that section, let your loved ones surprise you. It's hilarious to me because I love surprises and my husband hates them. Oh, so I can pull off a good surprise. It's kind of like, sure, go ahead. But it's when you have two different people like that. Like, I really surprised him for his 50th birthday, and he was like, there's no way I can do that for you. Yeah. And part of it is just like who we are as people, too, right?
Yeah, we have our strengths. Yeah. So, no, that is good.
All right, the next one, this is the kind of stuff that I really like a lot more, right? Yes. How to make your gut feel great.
Yes.
So,
so many good things in here. Like this one, I was like, okay. Yeah, I had never heard about the cook and cool your carbs, about how that was so fascinating to me.
I know. And it's so funny because I was reviewing this before you came over, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. And it's funny because a lot of times one of my meals during the week would be a sweet potato and then a meat, just on top of it. And I was like, oh, I should roast them ahead of time, and then reheat them or whatever. Yeah. But I forgot all about it. It's kind of crazy how little things like that go. The other thing, she talks about eating 30 types of plants per week. Yeah. I kind of want this master list that I can check off. There's no way I'd just be curious. I don't think I would come close to 30 a week.
I don't think I would either. But
I do think maybe in a month. Yeah. And one thing we've talked about, on here with like nutrition and things like that, is just like, I mean, it's okay to eat something for a week and then, use it up. We just don't. The way we shop, it's hard to buy one of something or whatever, right? Yes. So, but I don't know. I'm looking for this like app, master app kind of thing that will
that you could track. Yeah.
That I could just kind of go click, 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 and I should buy these, like a reminder, and then like clear it off and then start again. I don't know. I'd just be curious, but also somebody make that or tell me if there is one already.
Yeah, maybe there is one, but that would be amazing. I also thought it was cool about fermented foods, and I really don't know much about that, but I thought I need to look into that a little bit more and how to do that and how to incorporate that.
Yeah, so kombucha is a fermented food. I mean, you drink, whatever. And we've obviously done kombucha in the past, and it's actually been something that I have been buying recently, and I was talking to our friends, and I was like, my scobies are all so like, I need to just start making it. Yeah. But I just have been getting into this a little bit, and I just made I'm in the process of making some fermented onions, which everybody says are really good.
It sounds good. I like the idea of it.
Yeah. And it's really just, it's just red onions and then salt and water. And then it's fermenting right now.
Yeah,
so
so
we'll see. Yeah, super easy.
Take the time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
and then if you have it on hand, it's an easy thing to put with.
Well, that's the thing. Like I love like those. I love like bowls, right? Like with some kind of grain, and then and like the pickled and fermented foods are such a great accompaniment to that. And I was like, and I was at like our healthiest grocery store last week. Pickled carrots were $6.99 for like a handful of them, and I was like, oh, come on. Like,
I think I could do that.
I can do that.
Yeah,
so
I can make those, yeah.
I've been on this kick. I'm just starting. I actually also pickled, like quick pickled. So not like canned.
Okay. Yeah.
But I did quick pickled of carrots, onions, and cucumbers that are in the fridge right now.
Nice.
And I have a friend who, they always keep like pickled red onions in their fridge. Yeah. Again, for kind of those bowls and
smart.
Tacos. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on this kick. I also, having been on antibiotics for a long time, like gut health, I know has been like, ugh.
Right.
So it's just interesting. I'm looking for stuff. I don't like fermented. I don't like sauerkraut. I know. I mean, people are. I think it's one of those things that people either like or don't like.
Yeah.
And it's not for me.
No, I'm not a big fan.
So. I don't know, but I'm very curious. And now, of course, you like start thinking about something and you're Googling it twice, and it's my whole feed is becoming that. So,
so you're getting lots of suggestions. Yeah, pass along the ones that work. Yes,
but it's funny
for sure.
I did think the next one in there talks about get dirty, which I like too, just because I think we have kind of gone over the edge about like germs, and I've never been a big fan of like antibacterial type of soaps and all that kind of stuff, and there's just, I mean, there is a lot to like, it's okay to have like dirt in our, lives, in terms of there's also sort of nutrients or biomes in that, and so
yes, I know, I agree. It's funny because Callie, my daughter who's pregnant right now, she was talking about this a little bit, just in that she remembers playing outside in the dirt a lot, and that she wwants that for baby, and I'm like, oh good, I
know. I feel like more and more, and again, I think we see parents in different situations, because oftentimes we're meeting them when their kids are young and they're having, difficulties or whatever, but it's like, let them play. Yes. Like, this is not about you. And I think what's changed is like now kids are so supervised that you see the mess they're making. Like our parents didn't see the mess necessarily.
That's true.
You know what I mean? We really did kind of get to go outside and play a little bit more. But like the mess is important, you know. Is. So
yes,
all for it.
Yeah,
but
me too.
And then she talks about feeding your good gut bacteria too. So
yes.
I'm on a quest, but I haven't figured it out yet. So, anything else in there?
I don't think so, but I definitely want to explore more and try more things. And I think maybe just that, and I try to do this all the time, do better food prepping.
Yeah.
Kind of on a kick right now, doing a little more food prepping, and I think then I can do better when I do that.
And that's it, even like with the pickling, I'm like, if you just have that in the fridge, and then really even your brine, you can just add more onions to it, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you just keep going.
You kind of keep it going. So the next one is how to live longer, which I don't know. I guess with me, I just kind of feel like every year is a gift. So, but there are some things. She talks about reframing stress. I mean, stress is good for us, but not when it's too much, right?
Sure.
And
managing that I think is important.
Yeah.
Well, the tongue scrape, the floss and tongue scrape. That is the one practice that I have really added consistently, because it was just such an easy thing to add to my routine. So I've been scraping my tongue. I don't know if it's making me healthier, but it's just part of the routine now.
No, that's awesome. I bought scrapers too, and I've been doing that, and flossing's been a big thing for me because I had jaw issues. So
right
whatever. Stop snoring. I mean, I think I know you can relate to this from your husband's standpoint, and I actually have done, like, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea at one point, but I really, maybe this is me just placating myself, but I was really congested at that time in my life too. So because I do deal with allergies and some other stuff. But I mean, it's just been proven that snoring, when you're snoring, you're not getting good sleep.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's important to...
Something to watch and address, right?
Yeah. And I think CPAPs can make a huge difference in people's lives. So
yeah, they really can. Yeah. I loved the challenge limiting aging beliefs. I think that's so great. And I do think there are ways to really notice the people around you who do kind of defy the limiting belief, and people doing very cool things later in life that I think is awesome. So
no, I agree with I feel that way too. I've been reading a lot about I'm like transitioning kind of away from being an OT and into other things, and I just kind of keep reading, like, what people did in their 50s and those kind of things, and I was like, this could be the best yet,
That's right.
And I do, I think it is, don't stop moving, don't stop, all of those things. And it also talks about reassessing your relationship with alcohol, which
I think is always a good thing. Right?
Always a good thing, probably. So, next section is how to feel calmer. I think I protect myself in a way that I don't feel like this is a huge, like, area of concern for me. The first one in there says set a news boundary, and I kind of laughed because I was like, I just don't.
Right.
I don't turn the news on. I see little things. I usually know if there's something big happened.
Sure. And then.
But I do know, and I guess maybe I've already set the boundary, because even years ago, my husband would listen to, like, I don't know, something at night where it was all news related, and I'd be like, I can't do this and go to sleep.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely not a time to do that.
So,
right. Yeah.
Like, I think for me, I think it's a great idea. I just think I've done it already.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's good. Yeah. I did highlight the meditate just because that is something that I keep trying to do. I don't do much. I've been trying to do 5 minutes in the morning most days. But I do think it's a good practice, and so I want to keep it. It's just a, nice way to.
Yeah, I mean, again, everybody talks about how important it is. I go through streaks, but I need to get back to it. And also, she talked about do a life admin day, and I did like that because, honestly, I feel like that adds. We expect ourselves to get all of this, like, running list of stuff done in our normal lives. And the fact is, you do need some time to do it. Right. So it doesn't have to be a whole day, but even saying, like, I'm taking an hour to look at bills and go through mail and whatever, that's needed.
It is. No, that's a great practical strategy.
Because, I just think that's the kind of stuff we expect ourselves to do within our lives without really accounting for the fact that it takes time.
Right, we have to allocate some. Yeah.
I will say, like, it also talks about stop letting fear control your relationship with money. And I've been doing a lot of work on, like, money and realizing that our like, what we have in the bank and what we believe is... Like, what we believe is what we've learned. You know what I mean? So breaking those beliefs and, like, learning something different there is a whole money psychology. And it's funny because one of the guys I follow, he's like, let me guess, you were raised in the Midwest it can be very regional. It's very family based, all these kind of things where it's like, and it sticks with you. And
sure does. And it can be interesting too if your partner kind of has a different relationship with money than you, and I think kind of navigating that, you know.
So it also breath work. If you're going to meditate, I suppose you should breathe. I do think I'm like, again, as somebody who's been congested most of their life, I kind of go, maybe if I could just learn how to breathe, solve it all.
Everything's going to feel better. Just breathe.
For those of you who breathe clearly most of the time, be thankful.
No, that's right. Something to be grateful for.
Yes. So, talks about how to restore and reset.
Yeah.
This isn't something I feel like I have a huge need for, but
Yeah.
I just think it absolutely can make a difference to people.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's some good ideas in here for that. And yeah.
I think, the first thing she talks about is have a post-work ritual.
Yeah.
I think I would maybe reframe that to say, you already have one, but is it serving you?
Yes,
you know
that's
what I
true.
mean?
That's a great point. We all do have those routines. Yes.
We do all have routines already, but a lot of times they're detrimental. So,
right.
Yeah.
The at-home silent retreat I thought was interesting. I don't know. That would be hard to do, but
I don't know. Does she talk about for how long?
I think it depends on what you need, but I don't remember. This one I looked at a while ago, but it was different.
Oh, she did a 3-day retreat. Woo.
Yeah.
I mean, I find I do like I think we all like days that we're home alone.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. On those days, I don't usually turn the TV on. It's usually pretty
nice to have it quiet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she talks about utilizing the healing power of nature, and I think goes to say that we just need to get outside more.
Outside. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and it ties into that earlier part of the book, right? The cirque walks.
Yeah.
And how helpful that can be. Just
get
outside.
Yeah. How to make better decisions.
Mm-hmm. I thought creating a failure resume could be an interesting idea to really think about reframing things that you feel like were failures and what you learned from them, and just, growing. Well,
and also thinking that, I feel like we emotionally attach things to failure that we shouldn't, like failure just means learning, right?
Right, absolutely.
She talks about practicing decisiveness, and
yes.
I'm a pretty decisive person, but I do understand, I find myself more and more saying, I can't make a decision right now. Mm-hmm. And again, for me, it's like, I just feel like we all do make so many decisions that we're just like, it feels good to have somebody take one off your plate sometimes.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. But that's a decision, right? If you say, hey, I need somebody, this is something
She talks about having no regrets when you die. Mm-hmm. And I think that's especially something that, that's an opportunity especially when you're dealing with, things like cancer, that, it is, I guess one of the things is that you do get the opportunity to think about how you want to live, and therefore how to move forward with those things, and make things happen. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How to build resilience.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I think I like the remind yourself of your resilience. I think taking some time to remember the things that you've been through and that you've,
I love the quote that, I'm going to butcher it, but it's something about, so far my track record for getting through tough days is 100%, right?
Great.
If we're still here, we've made it through every hard day.
That's right.
So.
And we need to remember that,
Make an accomplishments list, and that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, right? And kind of the wins, from our earlier book, and the gap in the game.
Gap in the game. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, remembering, that we're having wins every day. We just have to frame it and recognize it. So I like that. Yeah, and
then not to get the whole use your present relationships to heal your childhood wounds. I think is really true too. You don't always have to go backwards and heal that relationship. You know what I mean? That sometimes those things that were, that you've carried with you into adulthood, you don't need to settle with maybe the person.
Yes,
but you can do it differently in your own life.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's great. Yeah. The last section, I didn't. Right, is this the last one? Overcoming roadblocks, or is that?
Yeah, this is it.
There's a couple more,
this is it,
I think they're all good and interesting and have some nuggets, but I didn't really, not one stood out to me.
Yeah, I think for me, it starts by saying get unstuck, which I think there is kind of this whole, I feel stuck sometimes, and it's really hard for me sometimes to take next steps of things. Or I find myself kind of stopping doing something. And that to me is a sign of, oh, either this is hard, but also you're scared of what the result of this will be, right? And what the next steps are. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think for me, it was really get unstuck, and then the very last one, which is take the risk. And that, and just that the research on that is that regret is so much more detrimental, right? Than taking a risk and even failing, right? You know, or whatever. So, that's
and maybe that kind of ties back to that failure resume that you're like willing to take a risk because you're like, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll see what I learned from it, and you just can, you know, have a place to put it.
Yeah, I think so for sure. But
so many great things in this book.
I know.
Yeah, just got to keep coming back to them. But I'm scraping my tongue, so there's that.
And I need somebody to make up 30, whatever, how many. First I need to know kind of what's realistic of like how many there are. And then if I can really, I got 30 seems a lot. So the other thing I'm starting to do is grow microgreens.
Oh, nice.
So sprouts or microgreens. Like, do I get to count those as like broccoli,
I would think.
whatever. So anyway, we'll see.
That's great.
But all right, so we didn't talk about this prior, but I thought maybe, so for May, we would also be on nonfiction, and then we'll do a fiction in June. But I was thinking about, have you heard about the book called Anxious Generation?
I have not.
So it is talking about kind of how screens and things are, I think, contributing to the anxiety. Yeah. And I think, I take anxious generation. I think immediately I think of like younger kids, but clearly it's affecting all of us.
Affecting everyone. Yeah.
So
that sounds great.
Does that sound like something we could dive into? So
absolutely.
I think when we talk about, you know, like she talks about so many ways, we always think about adding, but sometimes it's also about subtracting.
That's a great point.
And so, you know, that might be, I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting, and it's not, I don't know.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
So, all right. Well, if you have not got 100 Ways to Change Your Life yet, get it.
It's worth it.
It is worth it.
It's a good book.
I think, like you said, it's a great book to have on hand to kind of review. And, you know, we all do resets and things like that from time to time. Like this is a good one to kind of go back and go, oh, what could I add into or do or whatever.
Yes. I agree.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yes.